Hello and welcome to uh, Experimental Psychology Introduction to Research, Chapter 1, and we'll get right to it. So these are the objectives for Chapter 1. We'll be describing some reasons for learning about research. We're going to explain the sources of knowledge and the costs and benefits of each. In this video, I will do those two objectives. So the first objective is to describe some reasons for learning about research. Why would we learn about research? One of the reasons why we learn about research is to help make good decisions in life. For example, research has shown that exercise reduces anxiety and depression. So knowing what works is a good idea. That's a cost-free way of decreasing anxiety and depression. And so lots of people are out there with claims about what you can do for anxiety and depression. Research will really tell you what works. Another good reason to do research is to enhance your career, even if your career is not research. So for example, in my career, there's been a lot of enhancement through research. For example, we know that students are more likely to succeed in college when they take dual enrollment high school courses. So we can try to encourage people to do that before they come to college, because that does tend to increase our retention in college. So almost any job you get in, they're going to be able to benefit from research. And if you know how to do it, you're going to be a great asset to that company. Finally, so you can do your own research. I do my own research all the time, and it's a lot of fun. And if you're in the lab, you're going to be starting a research proposal, and perhaps you can carry that out this semester. Research experience will also help you to get into graduate and professional schools. Having that kind of research experience is really good for getting into graduate school. So those are all great reasons to do research. We're going to go in now into objective 2, which is to explain the sources of knowledge and the costs and benefits of each of those sources. Okay, first source of knowledge is authority. So authority is just taking somebody's word, I mean, maybe you trust the president, or maybe you trust your teachers. Those are all sources of authority. You take the word on, you get your knowledge from what they say, and you trust it. Or maybe it's a book or an author that you read, or a blog that you read, and you trust that. That's a source of information. This is where we get a lot of our information. And so, for example, bundle up or you'll catch a cold. Don't go out with wet hair. Don't eat green potatoes. The question, though, is whether that's based on fact or opinion. And of course, we trust some people more than others, and some people are going to be more in the know about what's right and what's wrong. This issue about vaccines, some people say don't get vaccines, other people say get vaccines. So it's hard to know who exactly to trust. What about this? Will the flu shot make you sick? I'm sure you have an answer for that. But what are you sure you're right? Where'd you get that? Will talking on your cell phone give you brain cancer? Will our artificial sweeteners like Splenda and stevia, will they harm you? Will diet soda harm you? Will sugar make kids crazy and hyperactive? Will eating a watermelon seeds give you appendicitis? Should you wash chicken before cooking it? All of these are big questions in our lives, right? Especially that chicken one. Okay, well, another way that we get information, another source of knowledge, is through common sense. So common sense will be like a hunch or a personal judgment. A lot of common sense can, be prejudgments of things, like, for example, that Chinese people are better at math, or that it's dangerous for kids to watch too much violence on TV. Just because it kind of looks bad, you kind of think, maybe that makes sense, that, that violence might rub off on children. But again, it's kind of a hunch. You didn't necessarily hear it from somebody, but you kind of believe it, So the problems with this source of knowledge, just like authority, it's got problems. I mean, it's going to vary by person. It's going to vary by culture. Often what we believe is like a personal hunch or common sense is actually wrong. And so So it's got limitations, it's got problems. We're going to get into the third source of knowledge, which I think is really our best source of knowledge, and that is the scientific method. And that's where we go out and we look at stuff. We do observations, we do experiments, we do studies, and we take those observations rather than faith as a source of knowledge. So we know that it actually tests out to be true. So, for example, they used to tell us when I was a kid, they don't tell you this anymore, but to not sit too close to the TV or it's going to ruin your eyes. And that was something I always heard from authority. My parents told me it and stuff like that. Well, how can you test it scientifically? Is that possible to test scientifically? Well, of course it is, right? We can do observations on people who sat very close to the TV versus people who didn't sit very close to the TV, or people who didn't watch TV at all. And we can look at that. So, I mean, there is truth out there. You just got to go out and find it, right? And test it. So the scientific method does just that. And those research studies are the procedures for testing, is one belief better than the other. So if you have a hypothesis like about the TV and your eyesight, you can go out and test it. You can say this belief is actually better than that belief. And what it comes down to is the beliefs that have the most evidence are going to be seen as the better beliefs. And so scientists will use a lot of skepticism when they hear about something like that. Don't sit too close to the TV, it'll ruin your eyes. It's like, yeah, right, let's see, right? And then let's say a scientist does a study on that and he finds that in fact people who sit too close to the TV have bad eyes, and another scientist will say, well, you know, I'm still not sure if it'll work on everybody or if it's really the TV that's causing that. Maybe these people are doing something else and something like that. So then they want to replicate it. Replicate it means they just do the study again on a different population and see if that in fact is still true. And so when science gets it wrong, it self-corrects through replication. So we do it again and again and again to see if it's right. So I want you to go through the next few slides on your own and see if you can apply what you know. So think about some of these questions. You're going to see a whole bunch of different questions here on those slides, and I want you to pause it and see what you know so far. Okay, and then we'll move on to objective 3 in the next video. Have a great day.